One day the sons of God assembled in the presence of the Lord. The devil came among them. The Lord addressed the devil. He said, "Where have you been?" The devil answered, "Ambling here and there upon the earth." The Lord said to the devil, "Have you set apart my minion Job to think upon? For none is like him on the earth, an upright man, mature, who fears the Lord, still clinging to his righteousness, whom you incited me to ruin for no reason." The devil answered. He said, "Skin for skin, and everything a man has for his very being. So, if you will, extend your hand against his bone and flesh. Will he not have words to your very face?" The Lord responded to the devil, "See, he's in your hand, but spare his very being." The devil left the presence of the Lord and struck Job with a wretched skin disease. He snatched a potsherd for the raking of his skin. He went and settled on the ash heap of the downcast. His wife said to him, "You are stripped bare. Why, go on in righteousness, have words with God, and die." He said, "Your words to me are like the ranting of a woman lacking faith, that take to them the good that God sends, but reject the bad." In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. I am a learner in translating from the Hebrew into English. After I finish translating, I will go back and look at some of the better translations and see if there is anywhere that I went off the rails. There were a couple of times here where after I went back to the Hebrew, I saw, yeah, they're right and I'm wrong. There were other places where I think it was just a stylistic difference, and in some places I just decided I think I'm going to stick with what I've done compared to what other translators have said. Up until now, I've been translating hassatan as the Satan. I'm doing it differently this time. I'm now using the name the devil. Both terms carry a hint of an illegitimate sovereignty, which I see hinted at in the book of Job and in the Hebrew Bible. The devil has the connotation of a troublemaker, and I see that strongly in the book of Job. Now, there's a word in the Hebrew which very few translations translate. It means please. It's sort of a courtly thing to say. And I haven't checked a lot of translations. The only translation that I see that even includes it is Robert Alter's translation, which I consider very good. But I decided not to translate it, quite the same way. I decided to use courtly language, but not please. So I'm kind of splitting the difference between Robert Alter's excellent translation and the more usual translations. So that's why I say so, if you will. That's the word that is either untranslated or translated as please. Extend your hand against his bone and flesh. There's a word that could be translated as either servant or slave, and I felt that the modern connotations and modern nuances of both words made it unsuitable. So I chose a third word, a rather unusual word, minion. There's a Disney film with that name, Minions, and I did not want people to think about a little yellow, one-eyed creature when they heard this word, and I hope that they don't. The good thing about the movie is that at least most people are familiar with what a minion is. It's a fawning favorite. It comes from the French, mignon. People are familiar with mignon because they may, if they eat meat, know what filet mignon is. It's a delicate, tender morsel. Now, the one thing I don't like about that, to the extent that it insinuates a delicacy, is that we will see that Job is anything but delicate. He is tough as hide, if anything. And the big thing that I've done here is that there's a word in Hebrew for curse, and there's a word in Hebrew for bless. This passage and passage like it in chapter 1 use the word for bless because it's considered so blasphemous to speak of cursing God that even in the narrative of a story, the writer of Job did not want to use that word, so he used the word bless, knowing that his audience would understand what he was doing and translate bless as curse. We don't have that convention anymore, and yet I still wanted to retain that delicacy. So what I did was I used an understatement, have words with, instead of bless or curse. Again, looking to find sort of a middle ground that captured some of the nuance of the original, but without doing it in the same way that the original did, which would be, I think, just too strange to modern ears. A couple of more things, and here I think I might be out on a limb. Toward the end of this pericope, I say, he said, "Your words to me are like the ranting of a woman lacking faith." So far, so good. That take to them the good that God sends, but reject the bad. Most of the translations that at least I know of have this as sort of Job saying, shall we accept the good that God sends and reject the bad? But grammatically, and maybe somebody can point out in the comments where what I've overlooked, but grammatically it looks to me like this is something that is spoken of in the third person, and not in the second person plural. So, I don't know, but that's just the way I translated it, and it seems to make sense. Again, somebody can point out what I've missed because I'm a student, and I'd be grateful for the help.